Movie review time. The Batman, directed by Matt Reeves, and starring Robert Pattinson and Zoe Kravitz. What's it like? Is it any good? Should you? Spend your money, stick around, and you'll find out. I can't keep that voice going. I just can't. How they keep it going in the movie, I don't bloody know. Anyway, so my son, Joel, yes, my favourite movie buddy, came back from university and we went to the movies at the weekend and we saw The Batman, and it's time for me to tell you what it's about. Okay, so picture the scene, okay? Matt Reeves, he's the writer and director, and he goes into the office of the big boss man of the movies, or the big boss woman of the movies, I'm not quite sure. And he says, I've got an idea. And they say, yeah? He says, I want to make a Batman film. And they say, oh, Matt, come on, mate. He says, no, listen. And they say, look, we've got a list, right? We've got a list. And the boss man, or boss woman, holds up the list, right? And they go, Batman and Robin, Batman Begins, Batman Returns, The Dark Knight Rises, The Joker. Enough with the Batman, says the boss man or the boss woman. And Matt Reeves says, no, listen, I've got an idea. He says, I've got an idea. And the boss man or the boss woman says, why are you talking like that? And he says, that's part of the idea, right? That's what the Batman's going to sound like. He's going to sound like this, right? And they say, okay, what is your idea? He says, right, my idea is, right, I make a movie, right, it's like, it's got Batman in it, right? Yeah, it's got Batman in it, but it's not a Batman movie. And they say, what? And he says, no, right, I make a serial killer movie, right? So it's like, Seven, that serial killer movie, Seven, with, what's his name, Kevin Spacey, the guy we don't talk about anymore. And, Silence of the Lambs. What I'm gonna do a kind of mixture, right, of Seven, Silence of the Lambs, and a bit of The Godfather, right? And they're like, The Godfather, you mad? Yeah, a bit of The Godfather, right? And the thing about it is, right, is the twist, right? Batman is in it. And they're like, and he says, no, hang on, hear me out, I've got another idea, right? Zoe Kravitz. And they go, who? And he says, Zoe Kravitz. She is hot. And they said, you can't say hot, man. This is 2022, man. You can't say hot. He says, okay, all right, forget the hot, right? But she's feisty, right? And she's independent, right? She's got like short hair, a little bit of a love interest with the Batman, not too much, because we don't want to lose the certificate and that, but a little bit of a love interest, and she'll get like the kids in and the fellas in because she's hot. They say, stop saying hot, right? We can't do hot. And then as he's leaving, Mike, because they say, yeah, all right, it's $250 million. Go ahead and do it. And they say, look, just one thing. The boss man says, or the boss woman says, I don't know which. They say, look, can she be like a bit hot? And Matt Reeves says, you wait till you see the movie. Oh, you wait till you see the movie. So anyway, well, that's it, right? And you're going, what do you mean that's it? Well, it's like a serial killer, mate. There's this serial killer, mate. And all serial killers, not all serial killers, but this serial killer, mate, he's like a geeky kid. You know what I mean? A bit like the Milky Bar Kid. He looks like the Milky Bar Kid for something. He's got glasses, right? Why is it that, geeky, nerdy kind of serial killer types, they always look like the Milky Bar Kid, and they want to get their revenge against the world for some reason. So they want to like shoot everybody. Anyway, so there's this serial killer, right? And he happens, right? This is the twist, right? It's not a twist really, but this is how it works. He lives, right? He lives in Gotham City, yeah? So he gets to kill people in Gotham City. And who else lives in Gotham City? The Batman. Yeah, you got it, right? So there's a police commissioner. Of course, the police commissioner is called Gordon because it is kind of a Batman film, isn't it? So it's Police Commissioner Gordon, takes place in Gotham City. Right, there is the Batman who is alternatively Bruce Wayne, not that. Well, it's kind of relevant, but it's not really relevant. So the Batman gets involved, in tracking down the serial killer, and that's basically it. And Zoe Kravitz appears as a kind of, well, she's not Catwoman, right? No, she's not Catwoman, but she gets to wear a catsuit, right? A kind of black leather, don't get carried away, Julian. So it's like a black leather catsuit or something like that. So a little bit of love interest, not too much, because you don't want to lose the certificate, and that's it. So and that's the movie basically, right? And I've got to say, right, that me and Joel, we enjoyed it. You know, we had fun. We liked it. We thought we enjoyed it. But right, the last half hour gets a bit kind of mad. Really, it gets a bit silly because spot. I always do that. Plot spoiler. Spot spoiler. I can't say that. Plot spoiler. Right. When the serial killer gets captured, you know, because they always get captured, but they've got one last trick up their sleeve, of course. And then he turns into a kind of mad, not kind of necessarily right wing, but a kind of mad Facebook conspiracy nutter person, can't say nutter, where he calls on all his followers to like carry out his final plan. Do you know what I mean? And then it all gets a bit mad, a bit kind of silly. And there's like everyone is in on like a Madison Square Garden, a bit kind of like the O2, I suppose. You imagine the O2, right? So they're all in there, and the serial killer sets off all these bombs, and for some reason, I suppose it's like Gotham City, which is like New York, which is by the sea. So then there's a massive great tidal wave thing, and they're all going to drown, except they get rescued. You see, and I mean, who knows who rescues him? I'll give you one guess. I'll give you a guess who rescues all the people. You see. So it's the Batman. But the thing about the Batman is, right, he talks like this all the way through the film, right? And when he's Bruce Wayne, because of course, as you know, but plot spoiler, right? Bruce Wayne is the Batman, or the Batman is Bruce Wayne. But Bruce Wayne, you see, when he's in his Bruce Wayne persona, right, he still talks like that, right? And he's got this kind of eye makeup. So he's like a kind of goth figure with kind of this black, kind of stringy, greasy hair. So he kind of looks a bit like the Batman without the mask, and he kind of sounds like the Batman without the mask, of course nobody knows he's the Batman. You think, you know, this has been going on for like, when did Batman comics start? About 1932 or something. So this has been going on for like 80 years, and they still don't know that Bruce Wayne is the Batman. Plot spoiler, kids, if you've got this far and you don't know that Bruce Wayne is the Batman, it might be kind of obvious because it's in the film. So, anyway, so like Bruce Wayne, and Alfred, because Alfred's always in it, he's played by Andy Serkis as a kind of, and I suppose because Michael Caine was the first like butler who was like a butler but with a working class accent, you know that. So of course Andy Serkis plays the butler with a working class accent because he talks like that, doesn't he? You know, Mr. Wayne, Batman, you know. And there's a car chase in it. It's not a great car chase, and I mean, you kind of say to people, look, go and watch Bullet. If you want to see how to do a car chase, watch Bullet. Because most car chases these days, because you've seen them so many times before, they're just not really all that exciting. I mean, there's an awful lot of shooting going. Right, but the thing I'm missing, right, the thing I'm kind of not mentioning, and kind of I wanted to mention, because it's the key thing about the film, there is a baddie in it, right, who's a kind of mafia Italian type baddie, called Falcone. That's right. And Falcone is played by John Turturro, one of my favourite actors. And John Turturro is absolutely brilliant, and he really lights up the screen, lights up the film. And then, I mean, he comes to a sticky end, of course, as he does. And then the kind of film suffers because of it, because he's a brilliant, I think he's a brilliant character. And up until that point, that gave me the kind of shades of The Godfather bit. And then he's out of it, and it just gets a bit kind of right-wing, Facebook, mad conspiracy, nerdy, Milky Bar Kid, serial killer movie type thing. Zoe Kravitz in a catsuit looking really hot. You can't say hot. And you know, so the thing about it is it's a serial killer film that's got Batman in it. In other words, it's like they've taken the character of Batman and they've kind of slotted him in to another film. So imagine, right, I've come up with a few ideas, right? So imagine you take Sherlock Holmes, right? Kids, you know, ask your parents about Sherlock Holmes. So you take Sherlock Holmes, right, and you put him in the in-betweeners, right? So he's like a detective from the Victorian era, and he's in the in-betweeners. I mean, imagine the possibilities. I imagine Matt Reeves is pitching that idea at the moment. Or, right, is there an alternative, right? Superman, right? You've heard of Superman, superhero, right? He pops up in Made in Chelsea. I mean, would you watch that, or would you watch that? Right, here's another one. Here's a third one. Right? I'll give you these for free, by the way. You've got my email address. It's at the bottom of the movie. So if you want bottom of this video. So, you know, if you want to send me royalties or whatever, you can do. Right, but I've got this, right. Iron Man, right. You know, Iron Man. Robert Downey Jr. Oh, he's getting a bit old now. Robert Downey Jr. plus Gwyneth Paltrow. She's getting a bit old too. But Line of Duty. Can you imagine it? Line of Duty with what's that woman's name? Vicky McClure. Is it Martin Compston? You know, the kind of, anyway, you know who I mean. The Iron Man, Gwyneth Paltrow, next series, Line of Duty. You saw it here first. So, and then at the end, right, because obviously at the beginning when you first see Batman, right, he meets some baddies and he beats them all up like that, and they kind of say to him, "Who are you? You know, you stupid guy in a suit." And he says, "I am vengeance," like that. You know, he says it just like that too. He says, "I am vengeance." But then at the end of the film, you see, it's like, no, you can't have this all this vengeance stuff. We've got to have some. We've got to go into the light. You know, we've got to have some Brexit uplands here. So instead of saying "I am vengeance," he says, "I am vegan." He doesn't actually. He says, "Hope. Vengeance is not enough. You've got to have hope, and hope will set us free." He doesn't actually say that, but he says something like that. So hope. Plot spoiler. Hope will set us free. And then Zoe Kravitz, and I can't remember the name of her character's name actually. I probably wasn't paying attention to that bit. So Zoe Kravitz, right? She gets off on a motorbike and she gives him a kiss and she says, "Come with me. We'll go out to the country and make bat babies or whatever they're called." And he's tempted. Of course he is. He's tempted. But then they go off in their motorcycles together like that, and they're cycling through this dark forest. And then they come to a crossroads, as you do. And then Zoe Kravitz, who's the hot one, whose name I can't remember, she turns left. And you think, what's the Batman going to do? Is he going to turn left? Is he going to go with her? Are they going to make bat babies in the forest? But no, he turns right. And you know what that means? It means the Batman returns. Yes, the Batman returns. So, what's it like? Well, we quite enjoyed it, actually. But when you sit down, you think about it, you think, oh, for fuck's sake, Milky Bar Kid, serial killer film with the Batman, Alfred, the car chase, Jeffrey Wright as police commissioner Gordon. Oh, Colin Farrell is in it, and he plays the Penguin. Of course, now Colin Farrell, and I remember last time I saw Colin Farrell in the film, I can't quite remember which, but he's not a big guy, he's not a big fat guy. But now, like that. So I said to John, he's put on a few pounds. He says, "It's makeup, you idiot." So who else is in it? Oh, hang on, I wrote it down here. Paul Dano. Paul Dano plays the Riddler. The Riddler is the serial killer, by the way. Plot spoiler there. And Robert Pattinson, I think I mentioned him. He plays the Batman. And well, that's it. Really, that's it. So you pay your money and you take your choice. Oh, by the way, it lasts for about 3 hours. And you know, the last review I did about the Duke, I was moaning about that guy sitting next to me who was rustling a packet of crisps or whatever it is throughout the film. Joel got a bucket, quite big bucket of popcorn. I said, "You ain't eating that in the film." He said, "I have." But credit to him, he did it quietly. So thanks, Joel, for that. So the Batman, yeah, well, you might as well go and see it. All your mates will, so you don't want to miss out. And you'll probably enjoy it a bit more. But actually, no, I did enjoy it, except for the last half hour when it all got a bit mad. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you next time.